In this video, I'm going to help you make your pitch truly persuasive with the theory of rhetoric of the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle said that any persuasive argument must have three main elements for an audience to accept it: ethos, logos, and pathos. Let's look at that now, and if you're interested, you can find further information in the document accompanying this video. Firstly, ethos, which basically means credibility of you as the speaker, built on your authority, sources, and perceived confidence. To show authority, a television advert for a medical product often features a medical professional in a white lab coat. It's probably actually an actor, not a doctor, but the effect is the same. We subconsciously trust the advert more. In the case of a startup, I'm certainly not saying that you need to appear in a white lab coat. But to show your credibility, the team slide is much more important than many people think. It's not to list every detail of your academic backgrounds, but to highlight the most relevant and impressive points across your team. Ideally covering what I would call deep sector knowledge, but also entrepreneurial, marketing, and business experience. Check out the companion document for more detail on the team slide. Secondly, within ethos, the sources are very important. When you present evidence from other sources in your pitch, it is vital to attribute your sources well, not just for ethical reasons, but because the authority of a strong source will actually enhance your own pitch. For example, when in 2015, the World Health Organization presented evidence that processed meat was highly carcinogenic, it was the credibility of the source that meant it made headlines worldwide. Lastly, within ethos, the halo effect. A good example of what I would call halo effect is Barack Obama. When Obama speaks in public, he transmits such confidence and charisma, and as a result, many people tend to trust him more overall. There is actually a rather illogical, often subconscious assumption that if someone is a good public speaker, that also means that they are well suited to run the American economy and foreign policy. Although in a completely fair world, the quality of your product solution would never be judged on your ability to speak well in public, I believe we should accept this fact, and in fact use it to our advantage. By rehearsing your pitch thoroughly and appearing confident as you deliver it, you will help your audience to see you, and by extension your solution, as much more credible. The second main element of rhetoric is logos. This is basically logical argument built on strong evidence and a coherent structure. Strong evidence could include statistics, case studies, or a quote from someone who has used your solution and obviously liked it. An example of logical evidence would be the results of a pilot test of a new device, maybe to automatically test patient blood pressure, which showed that carers were alerted to high blood pressure 35% faster than when they weren't using it. For many people, it is the logical evidence in your pitch which proves that what you say is true in reality, not just on paper. As part of logos, it's also vital that your pitch has a coherent structure. There are many different ways to order the content of your pitch, but in my view the most important thing is that it makes logical sense. In the document that goes with this video, you will find one possible pitch structure based on my experience with clients and investors, but please do try out your own and see what works for you and your pitch. Lastly, our third part of rhetoric is pathos, emotional or human connection with the audience. This could be through stories, personal anecdotes, and vivid images. To give an example of something that would be strongly emotional, we could say this medical product allowed Diana, who has incontinence problems, to leave the house without worrying for the first time in 6 years. But it may also be appropriate to use emotion more subtly. Simply telling the audience the story of a nurse and how your solution has made his or her workday easier may well be enough for the audience to connect personally with your solution. I'd like to end with an important disclaimer. Each person has their own preferences for one of these three elements. Take a moment to think about which yours is: ethos, logos, or pathos. Now bear in mind that if you are particularly influenced by logos, you may be tempted to include only logical evidence in your pitch, at the expense of of a connection-building personal anecdote, and I've seen that happen many times. Do not make the mistake of assuming that your preference will be the same for your audience. You will rarely know exactly who your audience is in advance of the pitch, well enough to be able to predict which elements of rhetoric will most convince them. So the best thing you can do is to mix all three. Build your credibility with ethos, back up your arguments with logos, and connect on a human level with pathos. Thank you.